We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishabahehi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are coming towards the end of the third chapter of Panchakosha Viveka Prakaranam of Panchadasi. A very beautiful chapter where Vidyaranya shows his skill of diving very deep into the nature of the self as satyam, jnanam, ananta. He broadly divides these 43 verses into three parts. The first part talks about what are the five koshas, which is a replica of Taittiriya Upanishad. And then he says the five koshas are not me, and he gives very valid reasons why they are not me. Then he gets into the analysis of the, so that was the first section. The second section dealt with satyam, jnanam, ananta. He took jnanam first and then satyam later and then ananta, which is our real nature. He took for analysis, he proved to us that this is our real nature. Then the third section, the way he deals it is, if satyam, jnanam, anantam is my nature and panchakoshas are not my nature, why do I experience all the time that I am the jiva, there is a jagat in front of me, and there is a controller called antaryami, which is Ishwara? Why is it that we experience the world the way we do today? Now, his reasoning is that there is something called as Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti is described in the Shastra itself, in the Veda itself. In almost all the Upanishads, you will find the description of Maya in different ways. Bhagavad Gita also talks about Maya Shakti in chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita. It talks about Maya Shakti as prakruti in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Shvetashvatara Upanishad talks about Maya directly and says this is Maya. In higher text of Vichara Sagara, they take into consideration this Maya Shakti, how it operates. Sureshwara Acharya in Naishkarmi Siddhi devotes one full chapter on this Maya Shakti. Taittiriya Upanishad, Shankaracharya's Bhashyam deals with this Maya Shakti. So this Maya Shakti, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, in this, Lord Krishna says that this Maya is very difficult for us to cross. Therefore, Vidyaranya takes Maya Shakti for the last section, which is what we are in the middle of it now. We are covering it. And we have seen the effects of Maya, which is the way we should understand is there are two powers of Maya. One is it is covering my real nature, which is called the veiling power, avaranashakti. The second power is vikṣepa shakti. These are the two manifestations of this power. Number one, it covers my real nature completely, 100%. What I am beyond the three states, beyond the three sharirams, beyond the five koshas, that is my intrinsic nature, which is called as satyam, jnanam, ananta. But this satyam, jnanam, anantam is covered 100% by Maya Shakti. Exactly in Atma Bodha, we get an example like how the sun is covered during eclipse time, how the sun is covered, the moon is covered by some principle. Or the clouds, very simple. Monsoon clouds, they cover the sun and the whole sky becomes dark. In the presence of the sunlight only, we are able to see the clouds. But our attention is what? There is no sun now, only it is completely covered. What happens in waking state is I completely forget my nature as satyam, jnanam, ananta. Forget. Completely I forget. This is due to the Maya Shakti for all of us, except a jnani. All ajnanis, they all suffer from this avaranashakti. So in the waking state, everyone says, do you know you are Brahman? No, I've never heard of Brahman. That is a common experience for all of us. So that is why do we say I don't know this real nature? Because of the Maya Shakti, a part of the Maya Shakti, which is called as avaranashakti, and it is covering my nature. That is one part. Suppose I just stay aloof and say, I don't know. That's all. Suppose I am able to just live with this Maya Shakti, one part. Then I will not suffer so much in life. Who am I? I don't know. Ignorance of something is also a bliss. I am not affected. I don't know something, I'm not affected. There is a war going on in Russia. I don't even know about it. I'm not affected. There is some real nature. I don't know. I am not affected because I don't know. That's it. But the problem is the second part of Maya. Because it is not known, my real nature is not known, I am superimposing that the body is me. Whatever I'm experiencing is me. My emotions are me. My mind is me. These are the three things which are the closest to the self. Body, mind, the emotions, the thoughts. The thoughts are so near to the self, consciousness. Because I don't know the consciousness, I take the thoughts, emotions as me, and then I keep on suffering. Oh, this one said this, I said this to him, therefore I live with certain emotions throughout my life. They become extremely painful for me. I cannot forget. Why I cannot forget? Because I don't know my real nature. And this power is affecting me. The vikṣepa shakti, the projecting power that I am this body is a projecting power. It is a notion. It is a thought happening in the intellect. And to cross this is the biggest hurdle in Vedanta. To cross this avaranashakti and vikṣepa shakti is the biggest hurdle. In each and every chapter of Panchadasi, you will find this difficult problem being analyzed by Swami Vidyaranya. And the most brilliant teacher to remove your Maya Shakti is Shankaracharya. No doubt about it. I mean, till today, I have not heard any other teacher like a Shankaracharya's Bhashyam. It's very difficult to understand the Bhashyam. It takes a very long time to understand the Bhashyam. But if you are a sincere seeker, my advice is listen to Shankara Bhashyam of the different Upanishads if you get a chance. But it is not easy because Shankara Bhashyam has got certain aspects which were there during his time. During our time, it is not there. During his time, the culture of India was very different. So he had different opponents opposing the view of Advaita, like Nyaya, like Sankhya, like Bauddhas, Jains, Purva Vimasas. These were different opponents. So when you look at Shankara Bhashyam of any Upanishad, you will find that there will be a lot of discussion on the opponent's view. That is one part which we are not able, we may not be able to appreciate that very much now because we don't have those type of arguments, opponents, and so on today. And we ourselves will never think in those lines and ask questions like that. So there is a fair amount which we have to go through. When we go through the Bhashyam, we have to go through all this, including Brahma Sutras. But the way he analyzes the Upanishadic mantras is amazing. And he goes to the very depth of these verses. So Swami Vidyaranya is handling Maya Shakti here in this chapter from 37 to 43. Shankaracharya also handles that in Taittiriya Bhashyam. A combination of these two is what I suggest is really required if you really want to remove ignorance. It is not the ignorance of the world of objects, but it is the spiritual ignorance. Okay, so that was a little bit of introduction to the chapter and where we are today. So I will now jump into this verse number 39, where we are supposed to start today. Verse number 38 talked about antaryami principle, which we covered last week. Antaryami means Ishwara, Saguna Ishwara. The Lord of the universe is called as Saguna Ishwara. And this Lord is with Maya Shakti. He can project the waking state, he can dissolve the waking state, he can project the dream state, he can dissolve the dream state, he can project the sleeping state, he can dissolve the sleeping state, not only for one individual, but for all the individuals in this world. Plant, animal, and human life. So such a power is this power of the Lord, Ishwara. The moment we say Ishwara, this is what should strike us. What is it? What is that principle in this body which controls waking, dream, and sleep? The inner principle. That inner principle also is the Atma of all the insentient objects also. There is an Atma which is the inner controller of Prithvi, of Surya, of Vayu, of Agni. There is an inner principle. There is a controller of these Panchabhutas. The same controller is there in this body also, controlling all my thoughts. Why does a specific thought come to you at a particular time, which never occurred to you 5 years ago. Why it happens at a particular time? Antaryami principle. So that was described in 38. We went into big length, but anyway, it was worth it. Today also we are going to discuss the Maya Shakti, and all these verses till the end of the chapter is talking about Maya Shakti. The more we learn about Maya Shakti, the more aware we will become of Ishwara Shakti. There is some controller. My eyes cannot perceive that controller. But when you go through these verses, your intellect will get convinced that there is some power. I may not believe in Lord Shiva, Lord Rama, Lord Hanuman, Ganesha, all that are all different forms. But you cannot deny the power which is there in this universe. Let us go to this 39th verse and see what this verse can teach us.
Vastu dharmaniyam yeran, vastu dharmaniyam yeran, shaktiyanaiva yada yada, shaktiyanaiva yada yada, anyonya dharma sankaryad, anyonya dharma sankaryad, viplaveta jagat khalu, viplaveta jagat khalu.
Vastu dharma niyam yeran. What is the meaning of this? Yada vastu dharma niyama tade anyonya dharma sankaryam. Every object in the world has got an attribute. First point, every object in the world has a property. Without a controller called Maya Shakti, there will be chaos in the world. Without a controller, there will be chaos among the 5 elements in the world itself. The earth element, the fire element, the air element, the space element. These 5 elements, water element, all these 5 elements, each one has got properties. We have seen in Tattva Bodha itself, earth is the grossest, which has got 5 properties, but the main individual property of the earth is smell. For the fire, it is rupam. So we know that each of these properties, they operate very organized in their respective fields. Our ears, for example, they are used only for sound. My eyes can see only form. I cannot use my ears for seeing the form. I cannot use my tongue. It can be used only for taste. Each thing in this world is controlled by its properties. Why do the properties remain inside the element alone? Because of this Maya Shakti. There is a controller. This Maya Shakti is the controller. Without this Shakti, we will not be able to distinguish one object from the other. There will be no uniformity in nature. Water is all the time in a solvent form, or it goes to a solid form in the form of ice, but still it remains as H2O. Fire, always hot. You can't have a cold fire. So if properties of all objects are not controlled from each other, Jagat Viplaveta, Jagat, the universe, will be destroyed. Pludhatu means to cross, to destroy. The word cosmos in the Greek language means complete order. Very beautifully coined in Greek language. Complete order. Cosmos means order. There is order in this world, which is called as cosmos. We are able to predict solar eclipse, sunrise at a particular time. Every day at a particular time, the sun will rise. Isn't there order? Gravitation. Isn't there an order? Speed of sound, speed of light. The light from the sun reaches the earth at a particular speed only. Coronavirus, again, we are able to understand the impact of the viruses. Energy in electron, protons, neutrons, atomic energy, stars exploding. What is the energy which is formed in them? If there is no dharma sankaryam, properties of objects cannot be regulated. There will be chaos in the world. What we say is this reality called as Brahman appears in the universe with a power. That appearance is called as Ishwara plus Maya Shakti. So when I look at the world, you look outside the world, what do you see? This is Ishwara. Plus there is power in the world. That is why in the 11th chapter and the 10th chapter of the Gita, they say that you can see the world as the Lord. That is what is the Lord Krishna's teaching. See me as the glories in this world, the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Everything in this world is my glory, the Lord says. Which means what? Lord Krishna as Brahman in the form of Ishwara is giving us the teaching that the whole world is something which your eyes cannot know, but the Shastra, the Vedas can reveal that to you. And in the 14th chapter of the Gita, it says that this prakruti or Maya expresses as sattva, rajas, and tamas. You can do a PhD on this topic, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Amazing depth you can go into. Amazing depth. The whole universe can be divided into sattva, rajas, and tamas. Whole universe. Plants, animals, human, everybody can be divided into these three categories. That is why in the 18th chapter also sattva, rajas, and tamas is taught. 3-4 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita talks again and again of this Maya Shakti expressing as knowledge, activity, inertia. Take the whole universe. Look at all the plants. You can check, there is a Rajasic plant, there is a Tamasic plant, there is a Sattvic plant. Among animals, you can see Sattvic animals, Rajasic animals, Tamasic animals. Human beings, galore, Sattvic people. Amongst your friends itself, you can see this person is Sattvic. This person is extremely Rajasic. Oh, this person is just, doesn't want to get involved at all. So, three powers in equilibrium, when they are in equilibrium, equal, samam, it is called as pralayam, where the whole creation gets dissolved. But then tamoguna comes, it is called as srishti, pradhanam. The whole creation is nothing but this Maya Shakti in equilibrium becomes inert. And then there are different theories of creation. You have certain portions becoming sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, and how it forms. You can study the chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita. This Ishwara is a transcendent principle and an immanent principle. I'll explain to you. Immanent principle means it is the material cause of the world. This Maya Shakti is the material cause. So material cause will always remain in the products. At the same time, this Ishwara has got a transcendent nature. It can drop this material nature and can remain as pure Atman or Brahman. So the way to understand Maya is there is a reality which is called as Brahman, which is called as the truth. And that pure nature of this reality, in that pure reality, there is a possibility of a power which is called as Maya. When the two get together, there is a mixture of them together. Then we see creation, and then we call that power which creates this entire universe as Ishwara, which is called as God. Reality by itself is called as transcendental. Nothing can remain in it, it alone is. These are very important concepts of Vedanta. Try to pick them up, you will understand Maya Shakti much, much better. As you go and study the Panchadasi different chapters, you will get deeper and deeper knowledge of this Shakti. And deeper knowledge of pure Brahman, the pure intelligence principle, all-knowing principle, consciousness principle, existence principle, and happiness, blissful nature. The more we study the scriptures at a deeper level, through bhashyams and through higher texts, like Vichara Sagara, like Shruti Sara, Samudvaranam, these are all higher texts. Panchadasi, these are all higher texts. The more we study these texts, the more deeper our intellect can go into these levels. So Maya is what? Yama Maya. Maya means something, it is called as illusion. And the power which creates this illusion is Mayavi, which is called as like a magician. There is some power with someone which is sentient. It cannot be Jadam. Jadam cannot create anything. A table cannot create another table by itself. It needs some external power, external agency. The agency is this Shakti. And this Shakti is something which gets the order. It constitutes the order, it imparts the order to the world. Maya is there in all the objects of the universe as a Shakti. And a particular order is there. That order is what is called as Ishwara. Order uncovered is the knowledge of physics, chemistry, zoology, astronomy. You take any particular aspect of these sciences, the order is what is getting discovered. Take any astronomy, what in atomic physics, anatomy, neurology, what we are doing is we study in depth the order and say that this is the order and we document it. And then we can get a PhD on that. Sarva Vastu Niyamakaha is this Maya Shakti, the cause of the order and it pervades the entire creation. But what is the source of all this Shakti is Brahman. Another word, you see, right now, the way we should take it up is, these are all terms which are used in Vedanta. Go with the flow of teaching. Automatically, at a certain point in future, you will understand the entire nitty-gritties of all the terms. The moment you discover your nature as satyam jnanam anantam, all these things will become clear. A very important point. If you don't understand also, doesn't matter. Just go through the teaching again and again. In different ways, Swami Vidyaranya will teach us how we can understand this principle of Maya. The next verse is talking about the same Maya principle in another format.
आवेशतः शक्तिः चित्छाया आवेशतः शक्तिः चेतनेवा विभाति सा तच्छक्ति उपाधि संयोगात् ब्रह्मैवेश्वरतां व्रजेत्
So in the previous verse, what did we learn? In the 39th verse, it was said that Maya Shakti consists of three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, and they give order to the world. Without the order, without this Maya Shakti, there will be chaos in the world. That was the essence of the 39th verse. So Maya Shakti is extremely important. As a Vedantic student, I must understand that there is some power in this universe. Let me call that power as Maya Shakti. And there is a controller of this Maya Shakti. Let me just call it as Ishwara. That Ishwara ultimately gets the power from Brahman. Brahman is the ultimate source, which is defined as what? Satyam jnanam ananta. That is the intrinsic nature of the entire universe. That expresses as this Maya Shakti. This Maya Shakti helps me to have three states of consciousness: waking, dream, and sleep. And then in these three states of experiences, I go through certain joys and sorrows as per the prarabdha karma. And then I get born again and again, till I get the knowledge of that pure Brahman. In this verse, what is this? How does this Maya appear? What is the mechanism? And it says here, chitchaya beshataha. Like you have a reflection and the original, chit and chaya. Chit means consciousness, chaya means Maya power. It is compared to the original sun and its reflection in the water. My face and reflection in the mirror. Because of association with the face, the reflection gets certain power. The original sun is bright. It has got certain powers. But when the reflection falls on a mirror, the mirror also gets the power of the sun. And then it can illuminate a dark room. It can illuminate. The sun can illuminate the whole cosmos. But the mirror, a small finite mirror, if I take that light and reflect it inside a dark room, that room can be illuminated. Similarly, that shakti is there in the cosmos. When it falls in my intellect gets woken up. This is what is explained in Dakshinamurti Stotram. Nana chit katotarasti tamaha deepak prabhabaswaram. That verse, third verse, I think. So this is the principle you should always remember. The power appears as conscious because this power here means what? Maya Shakti appears conscious. My body appears conscious because it is associated with a reflection of that consciousness in the intellect. In the world also, there is a reflection of that consciousness. That reflected consciousness is called as Ishwara. That Ishwara is omniscience, omnipotent. It gets complete knowledge of the universe, and it can create the universe, it can dissolve the universe. Chit Chaya means Maya power appears as conscious because of reflection of Brahman in it. Now it is clear. Like a mirror can reflect the sun, the entire universe can reflect that pure consciousness, pure Brahman. Why? Because it has got the power. Brahman alone is the Swarupa. Swarupa means it is the intrinsic nature of the universe. In that Brahman, there is no creation. And Brahman has no cognition of creation also. So same thing, if I can know that in my own internal intrinsic nature, I am pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. In me, there is no creation of the body, mind, world. They are all superimposed on me for a certain length of time. Again, it disappears. Again, it comes. Again, it disappears. Manifest, unmanifest. Manifest, unmanifest. I am like that mirror. The sun falls on me, and then during the night time, there is no sun. Manifestation takes place of the reflection, unmanifestation takes place. In pure Atma, there is no creation. There is nothing at all except itself. This is the way the Shastra scriptures define my real nature. It's possible to realize this. As you study, you will all realize that this is the truth. But this pure nature appears as the Ishwara or the Jiva or the Jagat. When it appears as the Jiva, Jagat and Ishwara, that pure Brahman is said to be Ishwara. That Ishwara is nothing but Chit Chaya. Chaya means shadow. Like my shadow falls on the ground, when there is a sunlight from behind, the shadow is there. Does the sunlight do anything to create the shadow? No. In the presence of sunlight, shadow gets formed and then nothing happens to the shadow. Jiva, we are all jivas, nothing happens to the jiva intrinsically. We go through the motion of life, but in truth, we are all reflected consciousness. When we are in the waking state or dream state or in the sleep state, we identify with the reflection and say that, I'm suffering, I had a bad dream, I had a bad day today, I didn't sleep very well. These are all expressions of Chaya. But if I know the truth about the Chit, then what happens? All these thoughts do not arise in me at all. I don't identify with them. I am the pure consciousness. And I can remain as pure consciousness because that is the truth which the scriptures tell me. Chitchaya aveshataha shaktihi chetana eva vibhati saha. This is the explanation of how the sentient factor gives its shakti of existence and consciousness to Maya. And this Maya uses it to regulate order in the world. And itself appears as sentient. This whole world, if you look outside, you'll say, yes, there is some cosmic being which is sentient being, that is how Purusha is explained in Purusha Sukta. It's a sentient being, cosmic being. It is all coming from this principle of Brahman and cosmic being, Purusha. Universe is sentient. There is order in the sunrise. Cosmos has order. The body has order. Body is born at a particular time, not before, not later, 9 months, not 12 months. Sometimes, okay, there could be occasions, pre-born babies are there, but those are rare occasions. But generally speaking, 9 months. Sunrise at a particular time. Sentiency is the governing order in this world. Sometimes we understand what is this sentiency, the conscious aspect of it. What is it? Sometimes we don't understand. The only way to understand is, can the table talk? No. Table is inert. I am able to talk. The difference between the table and me is I am sentient, the table is insentient. It cannot talk, it cannot walk, it cannot run, it cannot think, it cannot sing. I can do all that because I am sentient. Because of the entry or occurrence of the chit as the shadow or reflection in my intellect, all this happens. There is no distance between space, total space, and the room space. There is no distance. Similarly, the reflection in the intellect, the reflected consciousness and the original consciousness, there is no distance. This is a slightly subtle point, but you have to accept it and then move on. In your own intellect, you can think about it and you will come to the conclusion. We see distance in a reflection, like tree and tree. Suppose you see the water and see there are two trees which are reflected. In between the tree, there is a reflection. There is a distance. So because of this Shakti, the distance is created. All pervasive consciousness is like space. Space, is there any division in space? No. Similarly, in consciousness, there is no division. But our buddhis are different. Our intellects are different. My mind is different than your mind. The reflection of consciousness in your mind and my mind is the same. But the thoughts which come in your mind and thoughts which come in my mind, the reflecting material is different. Each one. Therefore, we see differences. But suppose you say, you start looking at consciousness, which is the power behind your mind and my mind, and I start admiring that power as that Ishwara or that Brahman, then we are all the same one consciousness principle. That is the height the Vedas want us to reach in our thoughts, only for ourselves, Not to tell everybody else, I know cosmos, I know Ishwara, I know Maya Shakti, not to tell and boast. That is ego. But only as our knowledge. My vision of this whole world gets changed when I get these inputs of Panchadasi. Sun is transcendent. The reflection is immanent in the water below. Similarly, consciousness is a transcendent principle. It can be in the intellect. It can also be without the intellect. As in the sleep state, intellect doesn't have the reflection of consciousness in the sleep state. It is the mind has gone to sleep, but consciousness by itself as independent continues to exist. This is how we have to distinguish transcendental nature, immanent nature. Immanent nature is the reflection. Without the reflection, inert cannot function. See, these are all the ways just to explain Maya Shakti. In this verse, Swami Vidyaranya says that there is a chaya principle, reflection principle. All the slides are only trying to explain to you that there is a reflection of a supreme power in my intellect and in the cosmos. Shakti is because of presence of consciousness in it, which makes it sentient. And sentiency is nothing but order, which governs the universe. The universe functions as a chetana vastu, as a sentient universe. Because of the order, because of the laws which govern the universe, we say it is a sentient universe. Similarly, like my body, there is a heartbeat which goes on, breathing takes place, there is order in the body. Because there is order in the body, consciousness gets reflected in it, and I say I am sentient. The inert universe made up of 5 elements, it is as though sentient by itself. But we should know that this is misconception. My body is sentient not because intrinsically it is sentient, it borrows sentiency from another principle which exists in the universe called as consciousness or chaitanya. Because of this consciousness only, the Maya Shakti, you see, the sun is brilliant. The brilliance in the sun, the earth, you look at the earth, it can produce so many different types of plants and fruits and so many different, infinite number of plants, fruits, leaves. Any aspect of the nature you take, it's a mind-boggling to realize the laws of nature. Maya, with the presence of consciousness, functions as the upadhi of Brahma. So when I look at this world, I cannot see the power, but I must infer that power. Like the law of gravitation, is by inference. So similarly, what the Veda says is the whole cosmos is an upadhi. In the previous talk, I had mentioned about what is upadhi, what is the definition of upadhi, and what is the role of upadhi. The role of upadhi is it gives me the knowledge of something which I don't know. Because of the upadhi, I can infer the ultimate reality. Brahman plus Maya Shakti as upadhi is Ishwara. Ishwara has got inertness as Maya, and it has also becomes sentient because of the reflection of Brahman in it. Parashakti, Prakriti. You have seen, you have noted that in Mundaka Upanishad. We are doing that on Saturdays. So Prakriti means Chaitanyam, sentiency. Apara Prakriti means Maya, the matter. Presence of Ishwara is the governing sentiency in the universe. Prakriti can be said to have two meanings. One is Swabhava, another is Maya. These are all side notes which are there. I will quickly run through a little bit of revision now. It's about 7:20. Okay. Before going to the next verse, I want to just quickly run through a little bit of what we have covered so far so that you are able to connect things up. Next week, we will do the next verse, 41. 41, 42, 43 are fairly easy verses. I should be able to finish them next week, and then we'll have a broad revision, maybe another 2 or 3 sessions for Panchadasi chapter 3. Quickly, I'll run through what we have covered so that next week it becomes easier. Brahman is pure existence consciousness, and it is not limited by time, space, or objects. This is the first and foremost thing we should always remember in this chapter. Satyam Jnanam Anantam is Brahman. Pure existence is called as Brahman. Pure consciousness is called as Brahman. And happiness does not exist in the matter world, but it exists in Atma. These are all very fine teachings of Upanishads. Why Brahman is not limited? Because it is colored with Maya, which is the Upadhi. This Maya is called as either a Jiva or Ishwara. Jiva and Ishwara have limitations of time, space, and objects because they're all Upadhi. Jiva is Upadhi of Brahman. Upadhi means Jiva will ultimately reveal Brahman. Ishwara will ultimately reveal Brahman. Therefore, it is called as Upadhi. Like the red cloth in a prism, we have seen this example when we did this Upadhi. In the 37th verse, we said Upadhi Dvayam Kalpitam. This Maya expresses a Jiva and Ishvara, and it is a projection of Brahman. I told you Brahman has got Maya Shakti, which can have projection or veiling nature. 38th verse said the definition of Upadhi. In the last verse of this chapter, again, Vidyaranya will talk about Upadhi and how this whole world is an Upadhi for that pure consciousness. Without understanding the Shakti, we will never come to realize the pure nature of Brahman. So always remember, whenever you are encountering the world, remember there is a power. There is a power which is called as Maya. My sense organs cannot perceive it, but it exists. That power is there, because of which I am sentient. Prakriti is what is called as nature, and it is made up of 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamoguna. And in the whole creation, we can see this Maya pervading, right from a cell to the cosmos. You'll find the Shakti is there. The Shakti is the inner controller, which controls the matter principle. There is another Shakti, which is the sentient principle, which is that consciousness, existence consciousness, that is called as Brahman. this slide is already cleared. I have explained that before. Sentient entity is Shaktiman, which is the omnipotent nature. And then we talked about how this expresses as a chaya. The entire world is a chaya for Brahman. The same Brahman becomes the Lord and becomes the world. That is how in Vedanta we talk about non-dual nature of Brahman. Chaya has got two meanings. One is called as shadow, another is called as reflection. Both mean very similar, but in Kathopanishad also this same chaya example will come. We'll cover that up later on. Even in the other chapters, how deep this chaya principle is, we will be going through in other chapters of Panchadasi. In how this Brahman becomes Ishwara is explained in the 39th verse. That is because it becomes the inner controller. Without controlling, will be chaos in the world. And even in our own body, suppose the 5 koshas are not controlled, there can be chaos in the world. There will be, therefore, the appreciation of Maya in the Jagat is what Vidyaranya is trying to bring out in all these verses. Next week, we will cover Brahman, how it is called as Jiva and how it is called as Ishwara. Why and how? That Vidyaranya explains to us in the 41st verse. And very beautiful verse. We'll cover it up next week. Like I said, there are 2-3 verses more which will take up the topic of Maya Shakti. Okay. Om. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, Shanmugam has unmuted everybody. So you can ask questions if you have anything, or put them in the chat box or raise your hand so that I know that you have something to say. Is anybody else, anybody who would like to ask any questions? Is Babu Bhai there in this class, in this session? Because he normally calls me. He doesn't seem to be here today. Okay. I'll leave it open to the floor. Yeah, Shama, go ahead.
Hari Om, Shekharji.
Yeah, tell me.
So you have very helpfully, obviously, given us the 3 good resources. You know, you've alluded to Taittiriya Upanishad of Shankara Bhashyam, and the
Yes.
Maya Shakti chapter, which is, of course, what we are doing. The Maya Shakti, you say this is one of the best explanations you've said. And then you referred to Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 of the prakruti and the, you know, the 3 guna attributes.
Yes, yes.
So, which is kind of assisting the whole process of contemplation, manana on this
On this
Panchadasi.
topic of Maya Shakti, yes.
So
yes.
I've noted it separately, which is very helpful. So that's just to give that. So then just a few little comments, you know, is what you've said is that there is this order, you refer to the order in the Prakriti, the law of nature, otherwise there will be chaos, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
In the verse 39.
Yes.
And that is a very beautiful description to understand. And hence, it is through all that the scientists have done is basically to discover those laws of nature,
Yeah.
of the planetary motion, the gravity, and once you understand that, you can actually go beyond it, isn't it? So hence we can now fly.
Yes.
Or dive deep into the ocean only by understanding the laws of nature. This is what man has done, and we've landed ourselves on Moon and Mars and whatever else. In a similar approach of science, what we are doing in Vedanta, I'm just asking whether we are almost doing something similar. What is it, you know? What is the truth of who am I?
Yes.
Why is it happening? For example, why is it that I don't see it? Is because, which is obviously because of the Maya Shakti,
Yes, yes.
The avarana and the vikṣepa Shakti, the veiling and the projection part of it, and the how of it is the process of, you know, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. So we are using almost similar approach, isn't it?
Yes.
Like the science.
That's correct. Yes.
Same principles in the spiritual science.
Only thing is you are going inward, not outward. Yes.
Correct.
But they are using a very powerful instrument, you know, extremely powerful, which is the Veda. And the Veda has got the power to take you very deep inside, very, very deep. And it's only, I have to improve my mind to use that instrument, the pramanam. You see, and that will come the more I dive deeper through these texts.
What I am really particularly wanting to sort of think about is that just as what the gravitation has the Shakti, how it draws everything to its gravitational force, the whole of the planetary motion, everything is controlled by the laws of gravity, isn't it? By a similar power, Maya Shakti, and you are constantly referring to that word power, you know? And this is something which I am rather reluctantly accepting it, because you almost feel your intellect has the Shakti, you know, so why can't you actually
that's correct. Yes, it has. You see, the intellect has to use the Shastra. See, the intellect has to sharpen, first of all. That is what is the preparation of the mind, develop the focusing ability through different sadhanas, through different lifestyles. I try to improve my own intellect. After having a purified intellect, then I bring in the power of Shastra. You know, the power of Shankara Bhashyam on Taittiriya Upanishad. And using that power, I can dive very deep into my nature.
So it's kind of an antidote, you know, for this whole power of Shakti. Now, the next point which I wanted to kind of think about is the this power, Maya Shakti, and I think you referred last time as well, because I used to always do a lot of self-blame. But what you are emphasizing, there is an external power of Maya Shakti. So it's, which is in the avarana. It's like the cloud.
Yes, you're right. It is.
And there is then the other is an internal, which means if I lend power to it, you know, so there is an external power which is attracting me.
Yes.
And to that, then I actually allow my intellect. If I have a weakened intellect, I do not use Viveka Shakti, I do not use Vairagyam, and I actually fall into the trap, isn't it?
That's correct.
So,
exactly, that is what has happened to all of us. It's not only you, it's happened to all of us.
So there is an external power. We
Yes.
have to, you know, because that gives me a lot of relief, because otherwise I almost blame myself, you know, how come, you know, so that's a very big relief. So there is an external cloud.
Yes.
And I am then actually further closing my mind by my own, you know, deficiency of the intellect.
Yes.
And the Shastra is actually obviously the light.
Correct.
Which
That's
is
right. We
Yeah.
have to bring that Shastra's light and keep on, you know, training our mind to drop its vikṣepa and then look into the Atma.
Yeah, because for instance, like in terms of the avaranashakti, you don't even need a cloud to actually say the sun doesn't exist. I can put my hands in front of my eyes and the sun does not exist, isn't
Correct.
it?
Yes.
So this is almost what we tend to do because of an indiscriminate thinking, isn't it? So that was one thing. And the last, which is really a doubt, and it's a very innocent kind of a doubt, I should say. You know, it is almost like in science, you know the whole theory about why stars twinkle in the night, isn't it? Because of the refraction of the light through the various layers of the atmosphere. You know, why it appears twinkling, but there is actually no twinkling of the stars, isn't it?
Yes.
But when we perceive it, we see it as a twinkling of the stars on a dark, clear night. Okay.
Yes.
Now, however, much as I know that the knowledge behind it, I know what is it, still, when I actually, part of my mind, when I see the stars and twinkling, you know, it is just simply such a joy. At that time, I don't want to think that it is actually a reflection. So in other words, now the question is, with all this Vedanta Jnanam, this is my doubt, do we not simply lose the joy of life, you know, when a joy presents, you know, like the flower, which is so beautiful, or somebody who actually creates a beautiful painting or does a beautiful Gita Gnanam, do I not lose my power by, not power, do I not simply lose that joy until the point that I know when I will enjoy, which is when we have ultimately all this Vedanta Gnanam, which it then combines with the bhakti, which is you are left with pure, wondrous joy, which is almost like, although I know why the stars shine, I can still enjoy it. There is no problem as far as the stars are concerned. But really, in terms of how do I relate to the world, with all the Shastra Jnanam, am I losing the joy of simply being able to enjoy what is so wonderful in Prakriti? This is the doubt.
No, okay. This doubt is very, very common at a junior level when you are trying to learn the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this doubt is extremely valid because you feel there is joy in the world, and therefore there is a very natural question: will I crossing this Maya? Will I be able to enjoy? Which is there any joy in the Atma itself? You know, that is the doubt. Is the ultimate doubt, because See here, what happens is at a junior level, yes, this question is extremely valid. But then you dive deep. Then what the scriptures clearly says that ananda which you see in the world is only a reflection of your own ananda, and
Correct.
that object or a person is a upadhi.
Correct. Okay.
It is my own ananda. This is an extremely subtle topic. Many seekers, many students of Vedanta, they find it extremely difficult to accept it.
The question is, do I deny this or I don't deny it?
No, you don't deny it. You don't
This
deny it.
This is my real question.
Yeah.
That if I'm enjoying, should I be sort of saying, oh my God,
No,
I am not in my
don't
jnana.
deny it, because that is also a part of me only. It is, I'm just enjoying, I've got an extra knowledge that I have got this joy in ice cream. It is just an intellectual knowledge today that it is doesn't have by itself. Unless I am present, I am reflecting that ananda.
And the example which I am giving is like yesterday I went to meet my son and his wife, newly wedded wife,
Yes, yeah.
And I was just so happy. So happy. It's only after coming away and I was thinking, God, I'm getting enmeshed into, what I know is, I mean, my son, my daughter-in-law, there is nothing like my son, no. So I'm very aware of it. I have
the way you should take it up is, let me experience it. This is also a part of life. This is
so I should not deny it.
No, don't deny it. Let's see, life is, God has given us the joy in the world. So enjoy it completely. When you're with your son, with your daughter-in-law, be as a mother. That's it. Don't think about Vedanta and all that at that time. Just be your mother, be your own self, and you flow with the experience. Let the joy blossom. Let it grow. Don't deny that joy. It is nature. The nature is giving us this joy. You are born to have this joy. It is your right. It's your moral right to be. You are there in this world today because you have to enjoy that. This is your prarabdha karma which is bringing you this joy. How can you deny it? It is God-given joy to us. So
this is
don't
not
deny it. Don't because that will cause confusion if you deny it. You see, then it will cause a lot of emotional problem if you say, no, this I should not enjoy this, because let your mind remain as a mother when you are in front of your son or a daughter-in-law.
So it's not about, am I still practicing detachment or not?
No, at that particular point of time, detachment is not required. It's not required. Come on, you're a mother. You're a mother to your son.
Can I just add one statement just to what Shama is saying?
Yeah.
See, the fact is, truth of reality and appearance of non-reality can exist together. So we don't need to contradict. Say, for example, if I see a mirage, what I see, there is no water, but still I see that. So the reality, what I know, that mirage does not exist with knowledge, that is fine. But at the same time, what you don't see, that appearance is also that exists actually. And Vedanta does not predict that.
You know the knowledge. You know the knowledge behind, but it still does not preclude your joy. Like if I see a rainbow, it makes me so happy.
See, a jnani will still enjoy a good masala dosa. He will still enjoy a sunrise, a sunset.
Thank you. Because I was thinking, is it wrong or right in the Vedantic process? Because this idea of detachment is so very strong, because
don't be too harsh on your don't be too harsh on yourself by denying all this.
No, Vedanta not contradict that actually. Vedanta does not say that non-appearance, it does not. That is what that borrowing existence and all these factors what we are considering actually. It does not deny. So from Vedanta point of view also, reality of the truth
Yeah.
and the appearance of the non-existence with knowledge, they are same. So we don't need to consider that.
Wonderful, wonderful. To add to my problems, Venkatesh, is so funny. This so-called Jnani son, he thinks he's very Jnani, you know. So he tells me, he says, Mom, please. So I'm praising his wife, you know, he should be happy. But he's telling me, Mom, please, love in moderation. And then he goes on to explain to me, 3 years down the line, if my wife says something to you which you don't like, how would you like that? So he says, it bothers me. So he's worried about me that 3 years down, if I, so I said, my God, this is too complex a life.
Yeah, he
I'm
has
not
learned
prepared.
more Vedanta.
He's learned more Vedanta. This is what I was so, you know, I was thinking, this is not fair, you know. He's hardly studying, you know. He claims he has studied the Upanishad, this stupid boy, you know. But, you know, it's very funny, you know, very funny. I was thinking, if I like something, why can't I say I like something, you know? So he says, Mom, please, moderation in love. I said, okay, son, I will remember it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, Shama, we are all in the same boat.
Thank you.
We are all in the same boat.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just want to add one more this thing. Most of the what happens is the reference point is very, very important. So most of the time what happens is we talk about Brahman, Ananda, Satchit, Ananda and all that. That is from the absolute reality point of view. But we are still with the body, with the Vyavaharika scenario.
Yeah.
So the reference point is shifting. So what we can understand the absolute reality of the Brahman is only with the knowledge. So see, for example, like what we are saying, the stars are twinkling and all. For a layman, they do not know. But a person with a knowledge, they know there is a total internal reflection and all, and there are different layers. Each layer has got a different density. A density has a principle of. So all this.
I like the density part of it. Thank you, Venkatesh. He's an engineer, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the concept. What is happening? So this is a knowledge. So this knowledge, what we are trying to gain about Brahman, with the seat of human only, with the seat of the jiva only. So,
Right.
so only with the knowledge we have to just approach. So we are going towards from finite. Our journey is from finite to the infinite. So we are trying to understand what are the attributes of the infinite. But at the same time, during the journey, whatever happens to the finite, we cannot ignore that actually. Because this is non-reality which can exist together, but with knowledge we can decipher that.
Continuation of your same point, Manikandan has also put up something on the chat. He says the way you don't deny the joy, he says we accept also sorrow.
That is tremendously good. So if I'm in my depths of tears, so shall I enjoy the tears as well.
Yes, he says you can't because that is the law of nature.
Thank you.
That is, we cannot deny joy, we cannot deny sorrow also, because both are my prarabdha which is bringing me. That's all.
Wonderful.
Enjoy all what comes to you in front of you. Enjoy it. That is your prarabdha which is bringing. I love my son, I love my daughter, I have grandchildren and so on. So this is a part and parcel of life. This you cannot deny.
At the background, what I'd like to add is enjoy this divine comedy. I really feel it's a divine comedy, you know, because the one who really enjoying is the creator, you know, he's the Brahman, you know, say, wow, kitna acha banaya maine.
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita, there is one particular sloka in the 12th chapter which says very clearly, Sitoshna Sukudukkesu Samassanga Vivichitaha. So whether it is hot or cold, or whether it is sorrow or joy, everything we have to consider as a feeling. The feeling what you give to joy, the same feeling you have to consider sorrow also. And this can be possible only with knowledge. Otherwise, we will not be able to accept that.
So Manikandan, thank you for putting your remark on this. It gives the other side of the coin.
Thank you, Secretary.
That's a good point you have brought up. Shama, have you finished? Then I can go.
No, I have finished. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
I finished.
Saru has got one question here in the chat box. What are the sources you would like us to listen about Purnamada, Gayatri Mantra, and all that? Saru, can you please expand on this?
Yeah, sorry, I'm outside, so I can't put on my camera.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So no, I've been listening to the, every morning I listen to your meditation, and this Purnamada is very powerful. So I was trying to internalize it some more. And I came across one of Swami Sarvapriyananda and one of Sri M, where one talks about it as completeness and one talks about it as infinity, infinite. And I wanted more insight into it. And
of the Purnamada shloka, is it?
Yes, Purnamada shloka. And also, like last when I spoke to you, Gayatri Mantra, I've been chanting loudly, and I find it a lot of reverberation when I'm chanting. But if I know the meaning, I feel much more, attuned and connected to it. But I haven't been someone whom you would refer to listen to, so that it could give me some more insights.
Gayatri Mantra, there are several people, including, I think Sarvapriyananda has got one video on Gayatri Mantra. There are several people, you can listen to any of them. It's and regarding Purnamada, it is coming from Vedantic Upanishad. It's a mantra which is in the Vedantic Upanishad. Ultimately it talks about my own nature. You see, Purnamada, Purnamidam means it's ultimately saying I am Purnam, not as a limited body, but as a consciousness.
As a consciousness.
Yes.
As a consciousness.
As pure consciousness, as pure existence, as pure happiness, I am Purnam.
Okay.
And this Purnam is not an experiential Purnam. It is nature. It is non-experiential Purnam.
Okay.
You see, normally we are used to, my mind is very used to, oriented towards experiential joy, experiential happiness.
Yeah.
Now that experiential happiness is limited. It is there for a certain amount of time, and again it disappears. Again, any happiness which we get from the world, even Shama's happiness, which she had joy, a few moments with her son, it is not an everlasting happiness.
Yes.
It lasted for 1 hour, 2 hours. Again, she came back to her house. Again, the mind went back to her routine. So, whatever joy which we experience in the world is limited joy, limited happiness. Purnamada explains to me the non-experiential happiness. I am Purnam, I am complete without anything.
I'm complete without anything.
You see, for example, you take your sleep state. Is there any object which is giving you joy in the sleep state? No.
Yeah.
There are no objects in the sleep state. But then, do I feel happiness? Do I feel after every sleep state? Am I happy or am I sad? Most of us will say, I was very happy. And where is that happiness coming from? That happiness is only there internally in me. Otherwise, where is that happiness coming from? See, this is where Shankaracharya in Taittiriya Bhashyam and And he clearly there is a certain section there, especially when he comes and talks about in the Anandamaya kosha, he clearly says, try to differentiate your natural happiness and experiential happiness.
Natural happiness and experiential happiness.
Yeah, try to experience. You know what is experiential happiness? Experiential happiness is that which is reflected in my mind for a certain amount of time when objects are around me, when people are around me.
It's object driven.
Yeah, objects and people, if they are not around me, I am Purnaha. That is the of Purnamada. You know, it will take me 1 full hour to explain to you this mantra. It's a very powerful mantra. Maybe some occasion will come when I will explain this mantra.
Yes, please do take this, because every morning something is happening. Purnamada is going on in my head. And
that is because now you have developed a vasana for it.
Vasana for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see, your mind has developed a vasana to repeat that mantra, which is a good thing. You know, which is a good thing. You know, at least it'll at this point of time, the lesson you should remember is Purnamada is talking about my own intrinsic nature.
My own intrinsic nature.
Which is not the body, which is not the mind, which is not this whole experiences with the world. It is talking about Atma Ananda.
And it is okay to have vasanas.
Oh yeah, this is no problem.
This is Shubhavasana. This is Shubhavasana.
This is good. You know, suppose this mantra rings in my mind every day, it doesn't matter. Only thing you see, today you may not have the full meaning of it. Today you may not understand the full meaning also.
Yes.
Because even if I tell you that this is what it is talking about, your intellect may be able to pick up. It may not be able to pick up, because the only way the intellect will understand this mantra, Purnamada mantra, is when you understand Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. When you understand Anantam Brahma, then you will understand Purnamada. Because Anantam talks about Atma. Anantam tells me that without the time principle, without the space principle, I exist.
Without time and space principle, yes.
I exist. See, again and again, I repeat in my sessions this aspect. The best way to understand my real nature is ask the question, who am I in my sleep state?
Who am I in my sleep state? Okay.
There is someone existing. And that is my real state. That is what I call it as pure. That is what I'm calling it as Purnaha.
Purnaha.
That is not with reference to any medium.
Yes.
You see, I'm not talking about the physical body there.
Yeah.
Because the physical body is not experienced. There is no body in that state. It is I alone am.
I don't exist.
It is only the consciousness. It is the consciousness,
it is
and I
only
am
the consciousness. That is what is Purnaha. That is what is infinite. That is what is limitlessness. You see, when you say Purna means what? Purna means limitless. Complete. And there can be only one thing which is Purnaha in the whole cosmos. And that is I alone am. Without that I, there is really speaking, there is nothing.
Yeah.
There is nothing, because you see, this is the way to understand that pure Satchidananda. See, now a little bit telling you about how Shankaracharya explains in Taittiriya Bhashya. Okay, I'll just give you a clue.
Yes.
You know what he says is that nature, my nature is existence. You know, in that there is one portion where he says, suppose that my nature is non-existence. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I have told you that ultimately I have to remember that my nature, who am I in my sleep state, is I am pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss.
Yes.
He says, suppose I am not that, then what will I be? If I am not existent, what will be? I will be non-existence. And that Purnaha is the Karanam for the entire Jagat.
Purna is the Karan.
Is the Karan, is the Karanam, is the cause in which the whole Jagat is rising, in which it existing, and it is ultimately resolving in it.
So it is another name for consciousness, Purna.
Yes, ultimately Purnaha means it is another name for Brahman.
Another name for Brahman. Oh.
Very, very different. I'm telling you, this particular mantra can take you to the deepest knowledge of Vedanta. That is why it is repeated again and again, because Veda wants you one day to realize this Purnamata. That is why
please do take a full session on it. Please do.
Yeah, it is a full session. Anyway, let's wait for it. The second question you had is about Gayatri Mantra. That is also simple terms. Gayatri Mantra is used as a meditational exercise, again to reveal that pure consciousness. When you chant Gayatri Mantra, you are praying to the Lord of the Sun.
Lord of the Sun, okay.
You see, that is what is called as Hiranyagarbha. The Devata behind the sun is Gayatri Devata. Gayatri in a particular form, you can get a picture of Gayatri, and then that form represents the Devata of the sun. Now, what Gayatri is saying is, like there is a light which illumines that sun. You see, ultimately sun is bright. It's self-effulgent. Consciousness is also of the same nature. Ultimately, this consciousness, which is what I'm searching for, is also self-effulgent. I pray to that Hiranyagarbha, the Devata, the Gayatri, which is responsible for the effulgence of the sunlight. I'm praying to that Gayatri. I'm telling her, please come and bless my intellect so that with your light, I can see that light inside me, which is the consciousness principle.
Thank you so much, because this will just change the bhav of doing it.
Yeah, your bhava has to change.
Yes, the bhav will
Gayatri
change.
mantra is a very powerful mantra to illumine my own intellect. I'm praying to the Devata, which is responsible, which is in the sun, which makes the sun effulgent. There is a power. Every day I see this power. And this sun has been there for eternally. It is there.
Yeah.
You see, so many people have come and gone in life, but the sun has been there. So sun reminds me of eternality. Sun, when the moment I look at the sun, I can bow down to it because it's so powerful. It nourishes the whole cosmos. Without the sun nourishing the plants, there cannot be any life on earth. So similarly is this consciousness, which is my nature. Without that consciousness, there is no world. I have to realize this. And I am praying to that power which will help me to illumine my intellect and show that Gayatri in my own intellect. That is the power of Gayatri. Keep on chanting Gayatri as many times in a day as possible. It will remove all the agitations in your mind, and you will come back and feel the presence of Gayatri in your own intellect more and more as you chant.
Right.
You see, ultimately, what is the antidote for your sorrowful thoughts? It is some other mantra.
Yeah.
You see, that is the antidote. You see, ultimately, the prarabdha is bringing some sorrows in, some sorrowful thoughts.
Yes.
Something has to fight that sorrowful thoughts. And the way you chant Gayatri, it will give you the strength of your mind, and it will make that mind strong. Whenever there is a sorrowful thing, your mind will automatically start chanting Gayatri.
Right.
It will happen.
Yes.
And any mantra is like that, but Gayatri is very, very powerful. And if you know the meaning and then you chant, it becomes doubly powerful.
Yes. This is so beautiful, the meaning. Thank you so much. It's just like shifted a level, just shifted levels for me with the way I approach the mantra.
Yes, both these mantras are extremely powerful. Purnamada as well as Gayatri.
Yeah.
Keep that as close to your heart, and let your mind revel on its meaning. Let the mind gain the strength by chanting these two mantras regularly, and there is no limit to this chanting of these two mantras. Purnamada is a Shanti mantra. It will give you peace of mind. Because it explains to you that there is Shanti in your intellect, which you have to realize. You have to realize by chanting. You see, what you are trying to say is there is some power in this body, which is the Sakshi. That Sakshi is Purna. The ego is Apurna. I again remind myself of that Purnaha Sakshi, and I get away from this ego. I drop my ego when I chant this. The ego is the mind, which keeps on going into the world, and it keeps on suffering. Whole day it suffers. It goes behind this, it goes behind another thing, goes behind another thing, and it is an endless suffering. But what the antidote for that is Purnamada mantra.
Purnamada. And this is so beautiful all the more because when you start the Nirvana Shatkam, you always say there is a power in my body.
Yes.
And now you're saying the power is Sakshi.
Yes.
So, it's again another one step.
Yes.
The power is Sakshi, yeah.
This power is Sakshi. It is always there. Every time you experience your mind, always remember there is Sakshi behind it. Mind is a chaya, is a shadow.
Mind is chaya. Okay. The other thing which I found very fascinating in today's talk was when you said Maya and Yama. It is like
Maya.
Yeah, Maya, Shakti, and the Yama. So I related it to the god of death.
Yes.
So it's like okay.
Okay, thank you, Saru.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this.
Anybody else has any other questions or anything?
Hello, hi, it's Bharat here.
Yeah, Bharat, please go ahead.
Hi, okay, so I didn't really have a question as such, but I just wanted to add to the conversation. before Vedanta, I studied Stoic philosophy, and they have a saying in there called, what good is your practice if you can't put it to use when the moment requires it? And I just have to say that in what I used to do was, in unfortunate situations, I would suppress. But with Vedanta, it's about accepting everything, whether if it's good or bad, and noticing that you're noticing the good and the bad of any experience. And in terms of like enjoying things, it was more about the phrase "beauty is in the eye of the beholder," which means it's the happiness is coming from within me to experience what I see as beautiful, and it is that witnessing of that beauty always coming from within. So whether if it's what you're experiencing is beautiful or horrid, it's all being witnessed from within you. One last point was it might be helpful to some people, but the philosopher Albert Camus said, the absurd man laughs at the absurdities of life. I never really fully understood this phrase until I got to Vedanta, and my view of that is having pure detachment, in the sense that you're not trying to suppress anything. The fact that you see it means that you're not it, but it's just a reflection of you. I just wanted to add those few points, that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Bharat. These are extremely very deep topics which you have brought up. I'm glad you brought this up. It's something which is very powerful. These are very powerful the moment you have dived deep into your own heart. And your experience on these matters is really mind-boggling, because it shows that you have really thought on all these subjects very deeply. Good. I'm very happy to see you here as your first session which you have come.
Thank you for inviting me, and it's very nice of to meet everyone as well. It's
very
really
good,
cool.
very good. Okay, Bharat, thank you. Bharat lives in London, and which part of London do you stay, Bharat?
I work in the city, but I live in Canary Wharf.
Oh, okay, Canary Wharf. Okay, all right. Okay, Bharat, thank you. Anybody else has any other questions? Oh, there are some more questions here. Akshay is saying, will the grace prayer of consciousness can change our prarabdha? Will this grace prayer of consciousness can change? Okay, prayers can always change prarabdha. Okay, so that you should accept it, because if prayers cannot change prarabdha, then this whole world will never pray. Okay, because prarabdha pushes us to pray. There are certain difficult situations in our life. There is no other way except a prayer, because we are helpless. So your direct answer to this question is yes, it can change, it does change, and it's very powerful. Okay, that's Saru has put a remark. Okay, that's another remark for you, Bharat. Good. Okay, Bharat. And if anybody else has a question, otherwise we'll continue next week. I might have just 2 more sessions on chapter 3 the next week, and probably 1 more session. And after that, we're going to do Ishwara Srishti, Jiva Srishti. That topic also very interesting. But sometime I will try to see if I can talk a little bit more on the Shankara Bhashyam of Taittiriya Upanishad. I would like to, but The problem is I need to develop some notes and then share it with you. That would make it very, very interesting, but let's keep it for the future. I will have to work on it first. Okay, thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.